There's a moment in life when the world stops making sense, not because it changed, but because you finally saw it without the filters. And once you see that clearly, nothing about the old version of life fits anymore. People like to pretend they were abandoned by the world, but most never realized the truth. You weren't pushed into isolation. You were filtered. The noise was stripped away so you could hear the underlying structure of things. You weren't cut off. You were removed from the places your mind would have withered. Most people never see that. They call it loneliness instead of initiation. There's a moment in life where the surface stops being enough. Conversation starts to feel like static. Faces blur into roles. Intentions feel hollow. You look around and see people moving through life half awake, smiling because the alternative terrifies them. You stop pretending their distractions make sense. You stop bending yourself to match their comfort, and the separation begins. Not because you changed, because you finally stopped deluding yourself. The Hermetic texts call it the refining of perception. Buddhism calls it the moment the illusion loses its shine. Stoics call it the removal of unnecessary attachments. But the feeling is the same everywhere. The world you knew becomes thin, fragile, and strangely distant. You're still in it, but you're no longer of it. People who stay asleep think you're cold. People who cling to comfort think you're difficult. They feel the gap between your mind and theirs, but don't have the language to name it. They sense your depth like a pressure in the room and mistake it for judgment. They can't understand why you don't break the same way they do. They call you detached because they don't know what clarity feels like. But here's the part no one warns you about. Once your perception shifts, you can't get it back. You can try to blend in, but your intuition keeps cutting through the disguise. You sense intention before words. You feel dishonesty, like a change in the air. You watch someone smile and see the wound that shaped it. You hear someone speak and know which fear is moving their tongue. This is why the world feels heavier. Not darker, just more exposed. And here's the deeper truth. The isolation was never punishment. It was preparation. You weren't meant to stay in the places where people trade pieces of themselves for belonging. You weren't meant to soften your edges so others could avoid their reflections. You were pulled away so your mind could sharpen in peace. Hermetic teachers wrote that the few carry the weight of the many. That isn't superiority, it's responsibility. When your awareness expands, you inherit the burden of seeing the unseen. It's not dramatic. It's not mystical. It's simply the cost of perception. But you also inherit something else, the strength to walk through the world without being swallowed by it. The illusion loses power. The noise loses volume. The validation loses meaning. You stop running from yourself. You learn to stand in your own presence without needing permission to exist. And then something unexpected happens. The world doesn't get lighter, you do. Not because the burden fades, but because you finally understand it. You weren't meant to be like them. You weren't meant to shrink to fit their harmony. You were meant to see past the surface and survive what the truth shows you. That's why you were filtered. That's why you walk alone. Not as punishment, as alignment. Follow for more.